Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're asking all the questions and maybe even requesting a few favors specifically how to do that in Indonesian.
Right.
Imagine you've just arrived, maybe you're navigating a busy street, a train station, whatever, and you need to find something simple, like the closest restroom. How do you even start?
Yeah. And that seemingly simple question, it actually opens up a whole world of, linguistic tools and cultural understanding in an Indonesian. That's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
We're taking a deep dive into notes from a lower beginner lesson, and it's focused squarely on this crucial skill. How to politely get the info you need, or maybe ask for a bit of help.
Our source material, it lays out the key vocabulary, dives into the grammar behind asking questions. And there's some really interesting nuances around the word where, which we'll get into.
Okay.
And it also gives us these vital cultural insights, into how formality really shapes these interactions.
So the mission, basically to break down the essential phrases, help you navigate the different ways to ask for information versus favors, and really get how who you're talking to changes how you talk.
Exactly.
So by the end of this, you'll hopefully have the tools to handle those basic interactions with confidence and maybe avoid some common pitfalls.
Right. Okay, so let's jump into the scenario the lesson actually starts with. It paints this picture. You're in Indonesia, you need the restroom, you approach someone.
Okay.
And the key line they give for asking for directions is this. Permisi, Pak. Boleh minta tolong tunjukkan arah menuju ke kamar kecil yang terdekat.
Whoa, okay, that's a mouthful. Let's break that down. What are the core pieces we need from that?
Okay, first off, permisi. This is your standard polite, pardon me, just to get someone's attention. Essential starting point.
Got it, like, excuse me, sir, because they use pak right after, which is sir.
Precisely. Then you have minta tolong. Now, dig deeper into minta in a sec, but tolong here means help, or it acts like a please when you're asking for assistance.
Okay, minta tolong.
And tunjukan comes from the root tunduk, which means to point or to show.
So tunjukan is literally like show the direction or point the way.
Yeah, exactly. And kamar kesel, that's a common polite way to say restroom or toilet.
Kamar kesel, okay.
And terdekat means closest or nearest.
Right. So putting it all together, excuse me, sir. Could I ask for help to show the direction towards the closest restroom? That actually makes sense when you break it down. The lesson also throws in a few other really useful words right around here, doesn't it?
It does, like bertanya. That's the verb to ask a question. And this word is key because, interestingly, Indonesian makes a really clear distinction between asking a question and asking a favor.
Oh, okay, that sounds crucial. Asking for information versus asking someone to do something.
Absolutely. Bertanya is strictly for seeking information. So if you want to ask what time is it, or where is this place, you use bertanya. But, and this is important, if you want someone to do something for you, like pass the salt, carry your bag, show you the way, you cannot use bertanya for that.
Okay, so bertanya is like to inquire. If I need help, like actual assistance, I need a different word. Like the minta from the opening sentence, boleh minta tolong.
Exactly. Minta is used when you're asking for something to be given or for an action to be performed. The source actually gives this example. Please ask him to come.
Okay.
You'd say, Mohon minta untuk datang. See, you're requesting someone else to do the action of asking him to come. So you use minta, not bertanya. Getting this distinction right as well it's vital for sounding natural.
That clears things up quite a bit. So bertanya is more head knowledge, maybe? And minta is like hands-on action, kinda.
That's a pretty good way to think about it for a beginning.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of how we use these verbs, this is where we hit that first layer of formality, which is just, a huge part of Indonesian communication.
You mean like how you talk differently to your boss compared to your friend?
Exactly that. Indonesian has specific ways to signal that difference linguistically. We saw berbicara earlier in the vocabulary list, which means to speak or to talk. That's the more formal version.
And in informal chat, you just drop the ber, right?
Precisely. And the same thing applies to bertanya. Bertanya is the formal to ask a question.
Okay.
But in casual conversation with friends or peers, you'll often just use tanya. So if you're asking a colleague, say, when a meeting starts, you might just say, hey, nanti rapatnya mulai jam berapa. Super informal.
Right, like, hey, when's the meeting?
Yeah. But if you were talking to your boss about the same thing, you definitely use more formal phrasing, maybe incorporating polite words like permisi, and potentially using the ber prefix if the verb bertanya came up naturally.
Okay, so that ber prefix is one signal of formality. That makes sense. So now we know the difference between asking a question and asking for a favor. Let's get to the heart of asking questions themselves. The 5 definitions.
Yes, the building blocks. In Indonesian, you've got siapa, what, kapan, when, di mana, where, and kenapa, why.
These seem pretty straightforward, on the surface anyway. Like, siapa orang itu? Who is that person? Apa rencana hari ini? What's today's plan? Kapan kamu akan datang? When will you come? Kenapa kamu sedih? Why are you sad? Those seem to map pretty directly to English.
They mostly do. But here's where it gets, really interesting and can sometimes trip up English speakers, the word for where.
Okay, I thought di mana just meant where. What's the catch?
Well, the source points out something critical. The word mana itself cannot stand alone as where. You always need a preposition attached to it. And that little preposition tells you what kind of where you mean. Are you talking about location, direction, or origin?
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not just where, it's more specific, like where at, where to, or where from.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Di mana. This literally translates to at where. You use this when you're asking about the static location of something or someone, where they are right now.
Okay, di mana, location.
Right. Like, di mana letak kantor polisi? Where's the police station located? Or di mana pencil saya? Where's my pencil? Or back to our first example, kamar kecil di mana? Where's the restroom? It's all about static position.
Got it. Location, di mana. Like saying where at, essentially.
Perfect way to remember. Then you have ke mana. This means to where or towards where. Use this when asking about direction where someone or something is going or heading towards.
Movement.
Yes. The classic example is kamu mau ke mana? Where are you going? It's about movement towards a destination.
Direction, ke mana. Like where to makes sense.
Precisely. And finally, there's dari mana. This means from where. You use it when asking about origin, where someone or something came from.
Origin, okay. Like asking where someone is from.
Exactly. Dari mana asal kamu? Where are you from? Or where is your origin?
Origin, dari mana.
Wow, okay, that really is a crucial distinction that English just kind of mushes together. So you can't just point vaguely and ask mana, hoping someone understands where is it.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You need that preposition, di, ke, or dari, to make it a complete and meaningful question about location, direction, or origin. Getting these 3 down is fundamental.
That's a fantastic clarification. So that covers asking questions conversationally. What about in more formal settings, maybe written Indonesian, or times when you want to be extra polite or really emphasize that it is a question?
Right. The source notes that in formal Indonesian, especially writing or very formal speech, you can add the suffix ka to many of those question words. It adds a layer of formality and clearly flags it as a question.
Kakak. So you add that to siapa, apa, kapan, di mana.
Correct. They become siapakah, kapankah, dimanakah.
Okay.
For instance, siapakah yang akan datang, who will be coming. Or maybe, apakah kamu sudah makan, have you eaten? The meaning is the same. It just sounds, more formal. You see it in official documents, maybe formal announcements.
Interesting. Does that work for kanapa too? Can you say kanamaka?
No, and this is another specific detail the source makes sure to highlight. For why, in formal Indonesian, you don't use kenapa with kana. There's actually a completely different word, mengapa.
Mengapa. Okay, so if you wanted to formally ask, say, why is Civic coffee expensive? You'd use mengapa, like mengapa harga kopi luwak mahal.
Exactly. That would be the formal way to structure that why question. So that gives you the full picture for asking questions, right? From casual chat using Tanya and the basic 5 W's to navigating those 3 crucial wheres and then adding formality with kana or switching to magapa when needed.
All right, information gathering. Check. What about the other key skill we talked about, asking for favors? When you need someone to actually do something, not just give you information.
Right, the action requests. The source provides 3 main ways to do this, kind of like using please or could you in English. And while they can often be used interchangeably, they do carry slightly different nuances and formality levels. Again, it ties back to that cultural awareness.
Okay, makes sense. So break down these 3 please options for us.
First up, mohon plus verb. Mohon is often translated as to request, or maybe a more respectful please. Think of using this for slightly more significant requests, or when you're talking to someone with higher status, or even on formal signs and notices.
Okay, like a polite request.
Yeah. An example from the source is mohon lepaskan sepatu Anda. Please take off your shoes. You might see that at the entrance of a home or a temple. Or mohon datang jam 3 teapot. Please come at 3 o'clock sharp.
Yeah.
It's a clear, slightly formal request.
So mohon feels a bit more formal, maybe emphasizes the importance of the request.
Yes, I think that's a good way to put it. Carries a bit more weight or politeness. Second is tolong plus verb. This is probably the most common please when you just need help or assistance with a specific task.
Like the minta tolong from the beginning.
Exactly. It really emphasizes asking for someone's help. So tolong bawakan tas ini. Please bring this bag. You're asking for direct help with an action. It's very common, very practical.
Tolong is kind of your everyday, please help me do this.
Yeah.
Got it.
Exactly. And the third one is harap plus verb. Now, harap actually means to wish or to hope. But when used as a please, it often appears in public announcements, instructions, or written notices. It feels a bit less personal than mohon or tolong.
Less personal. How so?
Well, like the example, harap tenang. Please be quiet, though. Literally, it's like, please calm. You often see harap on signs in libraries or hospitals.
Yeah.
It's directed at everyone, generally.
I see. So harap is more for general instructions or hopes directed at like a wider audience, not necessarily a one-on-one request.
Precisely. So while you might sometimes see tolong on a sign, harap is very common for those impersonal public pleases or instructions. Understanding these 3 mohon, tolong, Harap gives you flexibility to choose the right kind of please for the situation.
This all circles back so nicely to that crucial cultural insight about formality that the source kept emphasizing. It's really not just about grammar rules, is it? It's about navigating the social waters.
Absolutely. The choice between, say, berbekara and baikara, or bertanya and tanya, or picking Mohon versus Tolong versus harap, and even using those formal questions with a ha. These aren't random choices.
Yeah.
They really reflect who you're interacting with. Your relationship matters.
Like that example in the lesson notes about asking for a meeting time, that really drove it home for me.
Yes, it's a perfect illustration of the spectrum. You're asking your boss, you want to show respect, maintain a certain professional distance, right? So you likely use more formal language. Permisi, boleh saya bertanya kapan rapatnya akan dimulai? Excuse me, can I ask when the meeting will start? Notice the polite permisi, the title pack, the more structured phrasing, boleh saya bertanya.
Very polite, yeah. Clearly marks the rules.
Now switch to asking a colleague, someone you're friendly with. You might just say, nanti rapatnya mulai jam berapa? Hey, what time does the meeting start? Much more casual.
Totally different feel. That informal at the start, no need for permisi or boleh saya bertanya. It's relaxed, shows your peers.
Exactly. That really highlights how much the language itself shifts based on the relationship. It's almost like you're code switching into a slightly different way of speaking depending on whether you're talking up the hierarchy or across to a peer.
It really is. And being aware of these shifts, even as a beginner, just trying your best, it shows cultural sensitivity, doesn't it? It helps you communicate more effectively, more appropriately. It's a sign of respect, really.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. We've unpacked how to get attention politely, Permisi, and use core vocabulary for asking directions and favors. Tunjukkan arah, kamar, kesel, etc. We clarified that vital split between asking for information that's bertanya or the informal tanya.
Right.
And asking for action or a favor where you'd use minta or structure your request using mohon, tolong, or harap.
And we navigated those often tricky variations of where, remembering damana for location, where at, kemana for direction, where to, and darimana for origin, where from. Understanding why that little preposition is so crucial.
Crucial, yeah. And we've seen consistently how formality plays this massive role, influencing everything from dropping prefixes like ber to choosing between kanapa and the formal mengapa for why, and picking the right nuance of please from mohon, tolong, and harap, all depending on the context and your relationship with the person.
Exactly. And by paying attention to these details, you're not just memorizing words and grammar rules, you're actually gaining a deeper understanding of how to connect with people politely and effectively in Indonesian. You're learning the sort of underlying social code that's embedded right there in the language.
So as you, the listener, practice using these phrases and navigate your own interactions in Indonesian, maybe consider this. How does the level of formality that's so clearly built into the language, like that obvious linguistic difference between asking your boss versus asking your friend about the exact same thing, how does that reflect deeper cultural values, maybe about respect, hierarchy, social connection? How might paying close attention to these small, seemingly minor linguistic shifts actually unlock a much richer understanding of the culture itself, way beyond just ordering coffee or finding the restroom?
Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe.